want to get my thoughts looking into the Kong's Cards tournament. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So yesterday you guys got to saw the breakdown for the Kong's event. You guys have the entire breakdown. You guys know what's going on here. A few people were kind of asking, you know, why was Mind Shuffle in such low representation? I think it's just simply because players are developing towards knowing how to play against the deck. We've already seen the early pre-meta is bringing in things like Ogre, you know, ashing the the Mind Shuffle at the right critical time, cuts your opponent off. Having a draw on the resolution of the Mind Shuffle for when the Skull triggers to drop the ritual, cutting them off of a key search there. Those are all pretty important factors to stop this. And players are already starting to kind of get that insight. Now, I think my friend put this best. You know, Mind Shuffle's a deck that on paper seems very easy to play, but there will be people that'll pick it up that'll be terrible at it. But the people that know the ins and outs of the deck, the people that know, you know, the correct time to Mystic Guard versus an Albaz and that sort of resolution, those players will be the ones that will do very good with this deck. And we already saw in the very early build, we saw an Azamina list coming through and actually winning the event. And that Azamina list actually went even further beyond the toxicity. It played the Zenna twins to be able to drop from the, you know, the main deck to get you an anti-spell searcher, which in addition to the anti-spell searcher, they had access to Discord. So the Pharaonic Advent was just a piece that you could bridge back into. Now you're like, well, how are we getting access to this? The Charmers and Quartet in Bloom is able to bring back two things that share the same type and different attribute. The Skull is in fact a Fiend monster, and the Pharaonic Advent is also a Fiend monster, but they do not match attributes. So you are able to revive this, which gets you into, you know, your floodgate of choice. You know, you're either able to bridge into Anti-Scam Fragrance, which, by the way, even at one, all right, we now are starting to see, you know, the cracks. But also there's Discord as well. Discord's another stupidly good card that, you know, if you're able to search for this, you just blow your opponent out because Discord's a continuous spell for, you know, 3 turns. So that's kind of the point. But this also paints the picture on the overarching problem that the Zenna twins is going to create. Zenna's the Link 5 that, you know, dumps anything from the main deck or can dump from the extra deck. I don't think the TCG is going to be using Zenna in a healthy way, period. And we knew that this card was going to be a problem. I just didn't start to expect to see the cracks already showing, and it being Mind Shuffle that was the one that was going to be the forefront at trying to push this already. But this also kind of proves that, you know, being able to combine Diabellstar with Griffo is also pretty broken. Watching, you know, the Mind Shuffle resolve, you know, send the Diabellstar special summon itself, and then, you know, kick out the Skull will get you into the same cycle. And then obviously the Diabellstar gets you into the Azamina package. And even go even further beyond that and bridge into, you know, the Black Magician of Chaos to kind of keep the line going here, to get the Magician Souls. And the Magician Souls ends up being another free tool for you to access. I truly do think that the Mind Shuffle deck, considering how minimalistic the package is built into the deck, I think a lot of players are going to try to explore this deck, and they're going to try to find the most broken cracks within the deck. Because if you look at the way that the deck was shaping up in the OCG, the biggest things to kind of take note of were just, you know, how many different splashable variations can we have? Because there's no locks on this stuff. The only lock you really get is what, like the Fallen of Albaz, and I mean, like, and I guess like if you resolve the Celtic Guard, but lists are choosing not to play the Celtic Guard. And that's the thing, right? Like, the Celtic Guard itself as a whole of a card is pretty cool, but it's going to come down to that application and, you know, the deck build itself. But the rest of the thoughts on the list are just holy actual crap. This is what we're heading into a format where is triangle truly like the best way to say it? Because looking at, you know, the early take on things, I mean, Cool Tune is by far still an incredibly powerful deck. Nobody should be, if you're looking at this meta and you're like, well, I don't actually think Cool Tune's going to be that big of a challenger, you've lost your shit. You don't actually understand. Like, Cool Tune is still the deck to beat in the room, and it's still going to be that case. But there's also the fact that Sky Striker is also kind of in the same successful boat here. They got Pot of going second now. They are now armed in more of a crazy situation than that deck has ever been able to handle. And it can now see even more outs than the deck has ever been able to see before. That's crazy. Your ground coverage in Sky Striker now is even more impressive than it previously has been up to this point. So take a second to actually, you know, appreciate the coverage on that. And also, congratulations to the people that are still finding success with Malice. I'm actually pretty impressed by the amount of Malice representation that we've got going on, but I gotta call it what it is. This deck has a lot of attribute and success just coming down to the fact that you can slam the most broken, degenerate cards on the table that are named Dominus Impulse and Dominus Spark. Those 6 cards acting as very critically powerful cutoff points to certain parts of the meta are 150% a great way to just win you games. And the Malice part of the deck itself, I mean, the Malice deck doesn't really feel like it ends on incredibly broken boards. Like, a lot of the time I'll see like a Hearts Cryptor kind of coming up, but the deck seems like it can kind of build a board minimalistically, and also like it takes usually 2 hand traps to pretty much put the deck down. It's not necessarily saying like the deck is doing terrible things, but at this point in time, you know, we kind of got to give it up for Malice and actually just appreciate the fact that the deck is still sitting here. Also, the Angelecki innovations. I am pretty impressed with how Angelecki is kind of coming to the table. It's not Mitsurugi Habagiri level broken, but having a built-in limiting effect on the opponent that they themselves have to address the problem is pretty cool. Also, your field spell being able to fuel, you know, a lot of other things. We didn't see a White Forest build come up, but I've seen a White Forest build on the side that really kind of caught my attention because, you know, you can kind of fuel through things and, you know, you have spells and traps to be able to feed the machine, which is actually really, really freaking awesome. I like that. But I say we're going into a triangle format, but I mean, like, it's probably, it's still the World versus Cool Tune the way it feels. I think the Mind Shuffle deck in the next couple weeks is going to be secretly very innovative. I just think that we got the chance to see the absolute sauce in the very early stages. And because now that we have this sauce being developed and we're already seeing, you know, holy crap, somebody was able to actually come up with something like this, you know, Firewall Dragon, you know, the good extra deck tools showcasing this, you know, is very good. And also, Branded is still in the background. If you're looking at this format and you're like, well, you know, I don't really feel too consistent about this, the truth of the matter is we still have the big players in the room. You know, Branded is still here. They got a new Super Poly target, which, you know, a spellcaster monster plus a non-spellcaster monster is going to turn, you know, Blazing Cartesi into even more of a monster. So that's a lot to kind of think about just within that space of what's going on. And honestly, I'm kind of looking forward just to seeing how this meta is going to shape up. Obviously, time is going to tell where this meta is going to go, but there's a lot of... This set did more than I expected it to. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdowns and the discussions. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and, well, definitely have a good time ahead of us to see where this is going. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.